In 213 BC, the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, issued an order: burn every book that did not serve the empire, especially the texts of Confucianism. The following year, he executed hundreds of scholars, an event later known as the burning of books and burying of scholars. An empire unleashed its full violence to kill a way of thinking. It succeeded, or at least it believed it had. 15 years later, the Qin dynasty collapsed. But Confucianism was still there. Within a few more decades, it did not merely survive, it was elevated by a new empire to become the dominant ideology of the state, shaping the spiritual structure of China for the next 2,000 years. An empire could not kill an idea. That fact alone may be more worth examining than the idea itself. Qin Shi Huang was not mad. Confucianism was genuinely his most dangerous enemy. He had just unified the known world and faced a problem no ruler before him had ever confronted: how to govern a territory of this scale. His answer was legalism, total central control, strict law, every person a component of the imperial machine. But Confucianism said exactly the opposite. Governance should rest on moral virtue, not law, on cultivation, not control. The most important quality of a ruler was benevolence. Worse still, Confucian scholars constantly invoked the ancient sage kings, how great Yao and Shun had been, how noble the Zhou dynasty was, the unspoken implication being that Qin Shi Huang did not measure up. An emperor who had just conquered the world by force could not tolerate anyone questioning his legitimacy. The burning of books and burying of scholars was not an impulse, it was a calculated campaign of ideological cleansing. Destroy every text that might undermine the foundation of the empire, eliminate every person who might spread dissent. He deployed everything the empire had: searches, informants, collective punishment. In his calculation, within one generation, no one would remember what Confucianism had ever said. But Qin Shi Huang underestimated three things. The first thing he underestimated was human memory. Books could be burned, but scholars carried the classics in their heads. The Qin dynasty lasted only 15 years. Many people who had read those books with their own eyes were still alive. The moment the dynasty fell, they began writing them down again from memory. In the early Han dynasty, an old man named Fu Sheng, over 90 years old, had hidden a copy of the Book of Documents inside a wall when the burning began. After the Han was established, he dictated the text from memory to a new generation of students. By then, he was so old he could barely speak clearly, and his daughter had to stand beside him, translating his words sentence by sentence for the students to write down. One man's memory, one crumbling wall. Together, they outlasted an empire's fire. The second thing he underestimated was the resilience of ideas. Fire could destroy bamboo strips, but it could not destroy a way of thinking. The core of Confucianism was never a collection of books. It was a set of basic propositions about how people should live with one another. Respect your elders, maintain order, teaching is more powerful than punishment. These ideas had already seeped into the daily life of every household, becoming habits, rituals, family teachings, village codes. You could burn every copy of the Analects. You could not burn a father teaching his son to respect his teacher. Once an idea becomes a habit, it no longer needs a book to carry it. But what he truly underestimated was the third thing: the needs of power itself. The Qin dynasty proved something in its 15 years of existence. Ruling purely through violence and law was extraordinarily expensive. You needed endless officials to surveil, endless punishments to intimidate, endless armies to suppress. Qin Shi Huang barely held it together while he was alive. The moment he died, the empire disintegrated. Violence could compel obedience. It could not compel willing obedience. And if an empire wanted to last, willing obedience was precisely what it needed most. This was the real reason Confucianism came back. Not because it was true, but because the new empire needed it. The Han Dynasty discovered that instead of spending enormous resources holding a blade to every throat, it was far cheaper to find a belief system that made people accept the order from within. Confucianism, once reshaped, could do exactly that. It gave imperial power a source of legitimacy rooted in the mandate of heaven, and it gave the people an explanation for why they should obey. The revival of Confucianism was, at its core, a transaction. The empire gave Confucianism a monopoly. Confucianism gave the empire a story of legitimacy. Ideas did not triumph over power. Power chose a new idea. Western history had a strikingly similar moment. The Roman Empire initially persecuted Christianity with ferocity, throwing believers to the lions in the arena. But 3 centuries later, Constantine legalized the faith, and the Roman Empire eventually went further, establishing it as the state religion. A belief system hunted by an empire became the empire's instrument of rule, first persecuted by power, then absorbed by power. The pattern mirrors the fate of Confucianism almost exactly, but there is one crucial difference. After Christianity was accepted, it became a power in its own right. The church possessed its own organization, property, and land. The Pope could stand as an equal to kings. Church councils could overrule secular law. It transformed from the empire's tool into the empire's rival, and at times, the empire's master. Confucianism never reached that point. It had no church, no pope, no independent institution. It remained attached to imperial power. The emperor could use it, and when convenient, set it aside. Confucianism survived for 2,000 years, but it never had a body of its own. Its body was always the empire itself. An idea without its own institution is forever a tool, never a force. Qin Shi Huang made the mistake every tyrant makes, believing that silencing the speaker kills the idea. But ideas do not live on bamboo strips. They live in the mind. You can burn every book ever written. You cannot burn the way a mother teaches her child, the habits by which a society tells right from wrong, the unspoken rules a group of people follow the moment they come together. The Qin dynasty lasted 15 years. Confucianism lasted 2,000. Ideas survive not because they are right, but because someone needs them to be right. As long as the world still needs a story that explains order, the story will not die.